stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me, tell him I'm fishing. I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to go fishing? I'm going fishing. Woo!
Hey everybody, Jim Salmons here, and welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live, as always brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company, as well as all the other great sponsors scrolling across the bottom there. Today, having a mess. Why is it these grapefruit sculpins always overflow? Well, that's kind of the way this week has gone, I guess. Cheers. Excuse me while I mop this up. What a day. So, haven't done a live show in a little bit. Honestly, had some stuff going on around here. I know I mentioned I haven't been fishing much before because I've had a shoulder issue. Actually, finally getting in for an MRI today, this evening. So we'll figure out what's going on with my shoulder. But I wanted to get back on for a couple of reasons. A, I had promised that we were going to do a kind of a silent auction to help out our friends at Kayak Rentals down in Louisiana with their rebuilding. So I still plan on doing that. So look for that next week. I've got a whole box of stuff here, you know, NRS, PFD, Seagar line, Sebile lures, all kinds of stuff. And it's going to go in one big package, and we're going to do a silent auction for that. So that's to help out, again, our friends at Kayak Rentals. So make sure you look for that one next week. Of course, you know, the reason I really wanted to come on here today, if you've seen the posts the last couple of days, the passing of my dear friend, Omar Orraca from Puerto Rico. I hope some of you who know Omar are able to watch this show today, maybe share some comments or stories about him. But I've got the 2 episodes from the last visit we were there. So I'm going to air one today, and then I'll air the other one next week. And just, you know, as a remembrance, we first visited Omar, and I don't remember what year it was. I mean, it feels like it was 10 years ago. And it was a very, very tough trip. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was tough. It's actually the picture behind me is from that trip. And I've got some great stories from that trip. One of which was just like the first day, I think, of the trip, we saw so many tarpon rolling, and I just made kind of a sarcastic comment, or as I am apt to do, and just said, man, every time I see a lot of tarpon, we never catch any. And Omar immediately is like, no negativity. He's like, we're not going to have any of that on this trip. No negativity. This was on the first day when I first met him. And I'm like, okay. I mean, he shut me down. And after that, though, he became so animated. You could see what his real passion for his country, his fishery, for fishing in general. And from that moment on, he and I hit it off. You know, I posted that, you know, sometimes you just have that instant connection with someone. And we did. And from that point on, we communicated all the time. whether it was giving each other a phone call, just checking in, or via just messaging or whatever. We had such a tough trip the first trip that, and we aired this one a while ago, so you can go back and look for it. But literally, we fished long and hard hours every single day. And where Omar was so positive all the time, and was getting quite frustrated because the fish just had complete lockjaw. They would not bite. And we don't know if it was because there had been a huge storm right before we got there. Kind of the fish, I don't know. Like I said, the fish got lockjaw. And finally, day 4 or so of fishing hard all day, Omar just had a meltdown. It was his turn. And he's like, why? And we all just like kind of got quiet. And it's like, okay. But as you can see, the picture behind me, we ended up getting that fish for Jeff Herman. And on literally the last hour of the trip, I ended up catching a really good quality tarpon. Now, you would think, having such a really, it was 6 days of fishing hard and 2 fish. And you would think that after having an experience like that, you just go, okay, I don't need to go back there again. But because 100% because of Omar, because of his passion, because of his personality, because of the connection we made, it's just like, okay, we will come back. We will give you another chance. And straight up, the next year, I had another shoot planned and it fell apart. And Omar contacted me and he goes, come back to Puerto Rico. Come right now. We will get you on fish. And we went and had one of the most amazing trips ever. We caught so many fish. It was absolutely incredible. And again, we loved him so much. We went back again, and that's what these episodes are here. Admittedly, Omar had some tough times after the bad hurricane and another hurricane, and then the earthquakes. And I mean, he was struggling. He was really having a hard time. And it was so good to see, even with the struggles with the COVID and everything else, he was starting to turn things back around. He was getting back on the water. He was guiding again. And we were all so happy. And I've been talking to him quite a bit recently. And we were talking about coming back and fishing with him again here very soon. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And, it's sad. It breaks my heart. I mean, he was such a passionate guy. He loved his country. He loved the fishing. He loved his family, his kids. I mean, like I said, it was very, very tough. I see there's a couple comments here. Let's see what we got going. Liam, hi, Jim. Rest in peace, Omar. Many happy memories made. Thanks for sharing your memories with Omar, with all of us. Yeah, it was, like I said, amazing guy. And like I said, he was a friend. It wasn't just like, a guide that we worked with. And there's been plenty of those. There's been guides, hey, we work with these guides and more or less acquaintances and you got along and everything. But, there's only certain people that you truly just really mesh with. And we did. And my wife was actually on that very first trip. She absolutely loved Omar and his wife Elvia at the time. I mean, we just love the people, and so it's been a really tough week. So, excuse me. Anyway, we've got Facebook users. So we've got some people watching on the the Kayak Fishing Show group page. If you don't give the page permission to use your name, it comes up as Facebook user, so I can't see who you are. So, but thank you all for joining us. I do really appreciate it. Aaron, thanks for joining us, man. I'm doing good. Like I said, hopefully I can get this shoulder fixed so I can lift my arm higher than right there, so I can actually get back out fishing again. Serge, how you doing, man? I appreciate it. And Gene Wilson is in there somewhere. And wow, hi from Southwest Scotland. Jim, thanks for joining us, man, from Scotland. That's awesome. I'd love to go there. So I don't know what the kayak fishing is like in Scotland, but one way or the other, I'd love to go. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. So anyway, like I said, we shot this in 2016. Good afternoon, Pam Worth. Thank you for joining us. And the first two times we went to Puerto Rico, we basically shot in the same general area. And so for this shoot, Omar wanted to go to some other places around the country. So we kind of road tripped it across the country, and it was amazing. Now, I don't know, I haven't watched this episode in forever, so I didn't go back and review it or anything like that. But we stayed in this building right over the water, super cool, tarping around outside. But I posted a video, and I don't think it's not in the show, but I posted a video that I had shot of, I set like a beer can on its side, and it rolled across the floor so fast because the place was like slanted like this. I mean, it was funny. And Will, our videographer, was in a bed that he's like kept complaining, man, this thing's so uncomfortable. And we're like, just go to sleep, man. And it literally, like, he was sleeping on a mattress. The mattress was on the bed frame, and there was nothing supporting it other than one 2x4 in the middle. So that thing was going, like this, and then over the 2x4, and he was sleeping across a 2x4. And we're just like, of course, no sympathy whatsoever. Anyway, it was, like I said, just one of the great stories, one of the memories from the shoots we had with Omar. So with no further ado, I am going to start this episode. Let's actually add it. And again, if there are people watching this who knew Omar, I'd love to hear your stories. Like I said, he was a great friend, and he's going to be sorely missed. So let's let this episode get going.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, we are in Puerto Rico. We are hooked up with my good buddy Omar Orraca once again from Caribbean Outfitters, and we brought along James McBeath from Jackson Kayak and Orion Coolers. We're chasing down tarpon. We're looking for sailfish. We're fishing off the dock right behind the place where we're staying because we've seen a ton of fish right here. It's going to be a great show. Stick around. You're really going to enjoy it.
Pause. Sorry about that. So actually, just because it reminded me, that spot, we literally had just gotten there, and like I said, they were tarping out behind. And the first cast I made, I got just blown up on. I think I was throwing a old Sebile stick shad. Immediately, first cast of the trip, I got destroyed, and it literally. I was not using a Siegler reel. I was using a low pro bait caster, and it was a brand new reel. I'm not going to say what brand because I don't want to bash anybody. It just could have been a one-off thing, but literally the reel exploded the second I engaged the reel. It just went boom, just locked up and destroyed everything inside. So I said it, but. Just the fact that on the first cast I could hook a tarpon was really cool. It's a great place. If you've never been to Puerto Rico to go fishing, it's awesome. There's great fishing there. So let's keep it rolling.
Word to the wise, if your mama ain't taught you, don't stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me, tell him I'm fishing. I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? going out, going fishing.
Woo!
This week on Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show, we head to the west coast of Puerto Rico to hang with our friends Omar Orraca of Caribbean Outfitters Guide Service and Indiana James McBeath from Jackson Kayak.
That's a big one there.
Oh, just getting ready to go out fishing to look for fish. And off our balcony, there's like 5 nice-sized tarpon just cruising around right here underneath the this dock here.
The guys are headed to a remote fishing village to explore the kayak-friendly waters off the lee side of the island. None of the adventurers know these waters, so it's going to test all their skills as anglers.
Well, we're on the west coast of Puerto Rico today. We're going to head out and start covering the whole west coast. Basically, from Rincon all the way down to Cabo Rojo, our target will be tarpon, sailfish, king mackerel, maybe some snappers. I mean, the whole coast is packed the bait. It's our lee side of the island, so we're promised to give you some great shots today. Okay, guys?
This trip to Puerto Rico is actually kind of a short notice trip. I just happened to be going back and forth with Omar Orraca, and he just threw it out there to me. He goes, "Hey, Jim, how about we try something different? You want to come to Puerto Rico again and we'll go someplace different?"
This time he surprised us with some really cool new locations. We spent a good part of the week racing around, discovering really cool mangrove bays like this one, and finding tarpon. Tarpon were elusive for the first couple of days. We found them around docks.
And just checking out some areas here. We've been cruising along the beach and seeing a lot of fish. I got bit on my very first cast this morning. And off! So we know there's fish here. We know they want to bite. We've seen some really good sized fish. So we're coming up along here. We're seeing fish cruising along. We've been throwing lures. I had one blow up, and now hopefully we can entice a real solid bite with a live bait. So I'm going to soak a live bait along here while I am also throwing lures. Oh. Yeah, little guy. I will take it. Keep him out of this. Throwing some lures around these docks, and I was also soaking a live bait. All of a sudden, there was a boil right next to my boat. I guess my bait had swam up right next to my kayak. All of a sudden, my line starts peeling off. Well, I got him up here close. And, not big fish, but I'm using 60-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon leader because these things will break you off. I mean, every time we've had one on, the line has been super abraded. I don't know if I've ever bogeyed a tarpon. Got him. Right on.
When we come back, we continue to paddle the west coast in search of big tarpon from our Jackson kayaks.
And as I said, I mean, this was a pretty cool trip. I did really well. I mean, I caught a lot of fish on this trip. James McBeath was so snake bit. If it could go wrong, it went wrong. I've never seen anybody actually break hooks. At least, I mean, sometimes it happens, but you know, you'll break a hook. I think James broke like 5. And we were using good hooks. I don't know what was going on. He lost fish to pilings. I mean, if it could go wrong for James on this trip, it went wrong. At one point, I remember I was paddling along, and you know, James was having a tough time. I already caught a bunch of fish, and James paddles past this one area, and I literally paddle like 2 minutes after him through the exact same line, and I hooked up. He was not happy with me at all. Looks like there's a couple more comments. Yeah, lip gripping a tarpon. Yeah, I honestly, the boga grip for me helps. I have some arthritis in my fingers, so a lot of times hanging on to them, I just don't have the strength in my fingers to hang on. So a lot of times you'll see, a lot of times I'll hold on to fish and it shakes and I lose it just because I don't have that grip strength. Played a lot of football and I broke most of my fingers. So I do have arthritis in my fingers, so it's hard for me to hang on to fish sometimes. So that's why the boga always helps me. Gene Wilson, it was you on the Facebook user. Again, thanks for joining us. And Francisco is from the west coast of Puerto Rico, where we're fishing in this episode. Thanks for joining us, Francisco. I appreciate it. And again, if you know, I honestly, like I said, I haven't gone back and looked at the episode. I don't know how much Omar is actually in it, but this is definitely a shoot that he arranged, and we were fishing with him. And he and Elvia was with us. And I mean, like I said, just a fantastic trip. So if you do know people that are friends with his that maybe want to see these episodes, please point them towards this and share it with them so they can at least get a view of Omar one last time. I appreciate it. Hey, Rudy, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us, man. So let's keep it rolling.
Welcome back. This week, Jim Sammons is joined by Omar Orraca and James McBeath in Puerto Rico. The guys have their sights set on going offshore today, dragging some bait in hopes of hooking a marlin.
You know, I really enjoy the times we get to spend with Omar. It's the 3rd time we've fished with him, and you know, you don't come fishing with somebody 3 times to shoot a show unless there's a connection. And he and I definitely have that connection. We have a lot in common.
This is Rincon. We're on the tip end west part of the island. It's our lee side of the island. Generally, the wind in Puerto Rico blows east-northeast, so making the west coast a real classic lee side of the island.
Well, we made a run down shore from where we're staying. You can see we're really close to shore, so this is certainly an easy spot for somebody to paddle. Oh, big old sea turtle right out over there. Right when we got to the spot where Omar had marked a pinnacle that was out here, we started seeing some small tuna and bonita up on the surface, and just a lot of life around here. So we're going to rig up and do some trolling around here and see if we can go get on something.
I don't know. I just work here. There's more splashing out there.
The Kraken was built for exactly what I'm doing right now. Going offshore, putting in some miles, paddling, trolling, searching, getting out there and just covering water. We have been trolling all morning, decided to do a little jigging, take a break, and on my first drop, absolutely beautiful fish. Thank God for having the Ray Marine fish finder on here, because he just kept us over the structure. I could keep going back. I marked this spot earlier today and then came back to it to do some jigging, and first drop I got this really beautiful little grouper, but the current's ripping pretty good. So I'm gonna switch up my vertical jig for one that's a little bit heavier, because when you're doing this, you ideally want the lure straight up and down. You don't want it coming up at you at an angle. The idea is that motion is your jig is doing this and coming straight up. It doesn't work so well if it's going sideways.
I'm rigging a ballyhoo in a swimming way. So I'm trying to set the hook right on top of his eyes so he can swim and not skip. In order to do that, I like to use a copper wire with a little tiny O-ring that I used to go through the hook. After you got it in there, what you wanted to do is just place your egg sinker underneath the gills. Make one turn on the gills, another turn in the other gill, and go around. That way, you have your lead positioning in there. Go through the ice, lock the weight, go.
For the last few days, we've been primarily targeting tarpon. So I'm going to show you the two setups that I want to have on my boat for when I'm doing that. The first one is for while we're bait fishing. I've got a Truth Jim Salmon signature reel, and I want to have a lever drag reel like this because you can have the reel out of gear, clicker on. Maybe if it's pulling a little bit, you can bump the reel up into gear just a tad. On the reel, I've got 80-pound thread lock Seaguar hollow core braid, so I can do my loop-to-loop connections and the knotless wind-on leaders. On the end, I have Seaguar pink fluorocarbon in 50-pound test. You need to be up there in that weight class to keep from getting broken off by their sharp gill plates. The other rod that I've been using a lot of is more of a bass style rod because I'm working these Sabile stick shad. So I need a rod that's comfortable to throw all day and to get some good action on that lure. That's the setup I've got here in Puerto Rico for targeting tarpon. Check it out. Yeah, I think the best part of this trip was the people. I mean, Omar and his lovely wife, Elvia, I mean, we're such incredible hosts. I mean, it was infectious. So it spread through our whole group, and just being with this group was so special and just so much fun.
When we return, Jim gives up the offshore setup and the guys focus hard on tarpon as a pattern starts to emerge.
Yeah, the offshore fishing never really came together. We never really saw anything. I said we got some fish vertical jigging, but we never saw anything really developing out there. But we saw so many tarpon on the inside
Welcome
that's
back.
like, okay, we're
This
sticking
week
with
we're in
that.
Puerto Rico's west coast, fishing for tarpon with Caribbean Outfitters.
I don't get a chance to fish tarpon a lot, so when you do, you go for it.
And Jim's going to go out and catch fish after fish after fish. And I'm just going to watch him catch fish after fish after fish.
Like right there.
Oh! Omar is setting up a nice line for me. I'm handing stuff off to Jim.
Yeah, right.
What I think it is the Canadian blood. Canadian blood is an acquired taste. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my finger and I'm going to put it on my bait. And what that will do is they'll track the fish. Once they have the taste of Canadian blood, they just can't go back.
Well, generally tarpon, when you are in an area where you think are them, you want to stop a little bit and just look for a little while. The reason is that many times you don't see anything on the surface, and all of a sudden one roll can still leading you to another fish, and like that. Since when tarpon are not active, they will roll once every 22 minutes or 3 times per hour, and when they're active, they will roll once every 8 to 12 minutes. That's why you have to stop at least 5 to 10 minutes in your area to make a close look at it and see how many fish are rolling. If you start to see fish rolling active, not lazy, that's a good starting point.
Oh, we got a nice early start this morning. Started working these docks with a Sebile stick shad. Tossed one up behind this boat up here, and it just blew up right behind the boat. Woo, what a great way to start the morning. Try and keep them away from all these dock pylons. Keep that rod tip low. He's going underneath me. Yeah, that's why you keep that rod tip low. If I had my rod tip in the wrong position, he would have snapped that rod. I mean, even though it's not a giant fish, it's a fun fish on this tackle for sure. Using a little subsurface sinking Sebile stick shad. I'd missed some fish on the poppers. Omar suggested going with something a little more subsurface because with the popper, a lot of times they'll push it up out of the water. You got any place good to grab there? The hook, the lure was in head first, with one hook down here and one right where you would want to grab them. So I had no place to grab the fish. And of course, trying to get into his mouth that way.
Yeah, I wish we had another one of those lures, eh?
Yeah.
Kind of looks like this. Like that. Wish we had one of these.
Stay tuned. Jim and James's Puerto Rican adventure has only just begun, and the tarpon are biting.
So I see there's a couple comments here. Pamela, I had someone lean on the opposite side of the yak. Is that like to help you land it? I'm not sure what that is about, but it's always nice to have help. Like I said, I mean, you can see there a lot of times it's like I just can't hold on to the fish because of my fingers. Francisco says Omar was an old friend of mine. Well, my condolences. Like I said, to anybody who was a friend of Omar's. Like I said, he was a fantastic guy, gone much too young. I mean, he's younger than I am. So I feel bad. I feel bad for the fact that, he left behind his kids and his lovely daughter. Actually, Elvia in this episode is pregnant, I believe, with their daughter, Havana. So, that makes her what, five years old now. So it's really sad. So, Aaron says, thank you for sharing your adventures and stories about your friend. Great video clips. Yeah, the guys, Will did some great shooting on this episode. And again, we had a great time. And I miss shooting with Will. He was my partner in crime for at least 10 years of the 12 years we've been on the air. So we had a lot of fun. Lynn says she's ready to take some lessons. Well, there's a lot of kayak fishing guides. I don't really guide too much anymore. I mean, I can't even get out and paddle right now because of my shoulders. So, but there's a lot of great guides all around the country now. I mean, the way this sport has grown since I started doing it, when there was just, very few people doing it, to now, I mean, there's kayak fishing anglers all over the world. So you can find a guide pretty much everywhere. John asked the questions about some local stuff. Do you ever just go out on the bay for calicos or sand bass? I know the big stuff is what most people want to see. I'm on the Jersey coast, but fish the bay in your town. I love calico bass fishing, particularly out at the islands, or down at Cedros Island. But I love calico bass fishing. San Diego Bay is a fantastic fishery for spotted bay bass, sand bass. A little bit of calico bass as you get more out toward the outer part of the bay, but in the back bay, I mean, the spotted bay bass fishing is phenomenal, and I do that a lot, particularly in the wintertime where the pelagic stuff isn't really happening, but you still want to get out on the water. Those spotties, and they bite all year round. So yeah, that's a great fishery that I really enjoy doing. Francisco, you be fishing my home water. Yes, sir. And like I said, it was the first time we'd been to the West Coast, and it was special, man. It was really cool. I very, very much enjoyed fishing there. I mean, we're still talking about coming back. I've been talking to some other guys. We were going to meet with Omar and fish with him for a little bit, but I do have a plan to come back. So really tell the story of what's going on in Puerto Rico and how they have come back from so much diversity. With, again, the hurricanes, the earthquakes, and everything else. So, but still trying. That's still in the planning stages. But we will be back, and hopefully it's sooner than later. Oh, John, you didn't know he's passed. That's understandable, man. Yeah, he just passed away a few days ago, and very suddenly. I was told anyway that he had a heart attack, but I mean, that was never confirmed or anything nobody told me for sure, but it was kind of told secondhand that they thought it was a heart attack. So, but it was very sudden. So it's, like I said, very sad stuff. Tough to lose such a great guy. I mean, he's a legend in Puerto Rico. I mean, he's just such a good dude. So anyway, let's keep the episode going, the fun stuff.
It's been only 2 days in Puerto Rico, and already the guys have hooked some great fish. Jim and James have decided to focus their efforts on the mangroves and really test the abilities of the Jackson Kayak Big Rig.
Right now I'm trolling, but when I get to the mangroves over there, I'm going to stand up and start casting, and the big rig makes it pretty comfy doing that. And fly fishing up into the mangroves is a lot of fun, especially when you don't have to worry about balance. I've got my pole up front here that I use, my stand assist bar that allows me to lean on something when I get a big hit, because when tarpon hit, they hit hard. Hey Jim, I know where they are. They're right over there. You can go get one, and I'll go in after you and get one. Then you go in and get one, and then I'll get one.
Woohoo! Filmmaking TV. Nothing's gonna go perfect, right? But gosh, it's been fun, Jim.
Yeah, man.
Jesus, what a jump, huh? What do you think? 4 feet out of the air?
Oh, at least, yeah.
At least, man. Wow. Look.
I had to take my hat off. Do I blame the hat? And
That's not a bad snook.
caught a snook.
You can lip them.
I can.
Yeah. Nice, James.
There you go.
Well, we've been working really close to the shore, and earlier I got a bite that missed, and I was out a little bit farther, so I figured I'd troll out here a little bit. He may jump out in front of me here. Well, the real excitement of tarpon is hooking them, watching those great jumps. This is very early in the fight, so I'm actually trying to just baby it and give him a little more space. I don't want him jumping this close to my boat. So just basically, oh, and it broke off. Oh my goodness. Man, I'll take that right there. I got some great jumps right by the boat. And then I don't have to mess with trying to release them because that's always the hard part anyway. So I got the thrill of that jump, and James had one that he jumped a little bit earlier. Whew, man, that's such good fun. Puerto Rico, man, what a great fishery, what a beautiful place. And I highly recommend it. And if you get out here, you gotta go see Omar. Get a lap dance. That's the second time he's tried to jump in the kayak.
Have a lot of finesse with it when you're bringing it in. The fish wanted to go, you want to release that leader. You don't want to keep the tension. Many times we use thin leaders in order to get more bites. So if you put tension on it, you're definitely going to bust it. That's why you see James right now working the fish very patient. Nice. And very careful so he don't bust the leader. He wants his picture.
I don't fight a lot of tarpon, so it's very difficult to fight. But then brought it back to the boat. We got it out and we let it go safe. It was fun.
All right. Keep going.
With heavy rains and lightning threatening, the team decides to take shelter in a local restaurant. As soon as they arrive, they figure out quickly why the tarpon fishing has been so phenomenal.
Look at all those fish under there.
It's an amazing animal, Jim. They live 71 years. And they've been with us for 150 million years. Look at this side, yeah. They love to do that, to watch.
It's like, are you gonna drop something for me, huh?
The best thing about fishing in Puerto Rico is when it rains, you find an enchilada place.
Such an amazing place.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, our adventure.
And like I said, a great time with Omar. This was part one of this shoot, and so I will air part two next week. I do appreciate you all joining me and sharing some of our time with Omar. You know, he will be sorely missed. Like I said, he was a good friend. And we just, like I said, we had amazing trips with him, and like I said, it was more than that. We like I said, we would talk on the phone all the time, and it's just sad. So anyway, but we'll try to remember the good stuff and you know, the happy memories, and that's what I will always remember. And the cool thing is I can go back and look at these episodes. And so many still photos and of our trips with him. And so I hope you will join us next week for part two. Again, I will put this whole silent auction thing together to help out our friends at Pack Kayak Rental. I actually just talked to Jameson Redding today. He's heading down there early tomorrow morning to help them rebuild. He's bringing them through some stuff. They had sold stickers and all that, and he was able to buy a bunch of lumber. So he's going to bring in a bunch of lumber down to Louisiana and to help them rebuild their docks. And so we want to do a little bit to try to help them. Like I said, I've got a whole box full of gear. I'm going to put it as one big silent auction item. But beforehand, I will go through it. I'll show you guys everything that's in there so you know what you're kind of bidding on. And hopefully we can help raise some money for our friends down there. So anyway, I will have one last sip of my beer, and rest in peace to my good friend Omar. Cheers, everybody.
Word to the wise, if your mama ain't taught you, don't stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me, tell him I'm fishing. I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to go fishing? I'm going fishing.